Talk Radio 1210 WPHT special presentation.
It's the end of the world.
Hey, Nero, let's put a trigger warning on trigger warnings.
One have a dishwasher dry.
I gotta take it on the other side.
Fresh off of some Oppenheimer viewing from both of us, we are here with the other side, Dan and DiRenzo again, taking over the 1210 WPHT streaming feed here on YouTube for a little bit. Anthony, Oppenheimer this week. You went earlier in the week. I went last night. Initial thoughts, overall thoughts of the movie really taking over the headlines along with Barbie.
Now, Talk Radio 1210
Lived
WPHT
up.
special presentation.
All right, let's get that out of here. There we go. Go ahead.
Sandy wanted to chime in. I was gonna say, lived up to the hype and then some. Like straight up, was as engaging as I expected. A lot of character development, a lot of just so much detail in the cinematography, and obviously you knew the story was going to be in depth and kind of geopolitical. But the way that it's done, I mean, we all know how Christopher Nolan runs things when he's in charge of a movie like that. I think this really has been the peak of what he's been able to achieve. Every actor is outstanding. The story is amazing. And I don't know. I feel like most of the time, even with someone like Christopher Nolan, who I kind of buy into the hype of, I always feel like these things don't necessarily live up to the hype. But this one, I think for the first time in a long time, absolutely lived up to the hype.
I disagree.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not that hipster guy. When there's a popular movie out there, I give it the best shot that I want to like it. First off, 3 hours is way too long for the film.
I'm used to that, just with Marvel, but all that kind of
stuff. All right, first off, we went to Cinemark over in Summerdale, and they have those like recliners. I got to say, the theater experience coming out of coronavirus, man, it is freaking awesome to go out. Sitting in a recliner, it was very relaxing. I didn't doze off at all, even though I was fearful that I would, sitting back in the recliner, a 3 hour film. Look, I don't know if it's because I'm spoiled because we're in the golden age of television. You look at HBO's documentary when they had, what the hell is it called? The Ukrainian disaster. But like there's so many good television shows that I feel do biopics just as well as what I saw last night. That I don't know. I feel like people want to like this more than anything. The cinematography was indeed beautiful. You had framing shots. There's a lot of times where Nolan made choices like the black and white when doing the Strauss trial and all that, or the Strauss hearing to confirm him as a cabinet member. I don't know, man. It felt like Nolan trying too hard, almost. There's a couple times throughout the film, Matt Damon. It's not just Matt Damon. Hey, I don't know what it is about him. I just don't find him a good actor, a believable actor. As a general, all I could see was Shelby from Ford versus Ferrari the entire time. The lead actor was fantastic. I really give Cillian Murphy some credit. But Robert Downey Jr. as Louis Strauss, I don't know. It felt like Iron Man too much to me. It's like maybe I'm just past the precipice. And I don't know if you agree with me. I like seeing smaller actors like Cillian Murphy, who's not in as much as like a Robert Downey Jr. or Matt Damon, because I can actually buy into the story, but it kind of took me out of it a little bit when I saw, Matt Damon step into the frame and all. Look, it's a great movie. It's a really good movie. It's worth your 3 hours of your time, especially, sitting on the couch. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I watched it in a segmented kind of like episodic way, hour and a half at a time, maybe. But to think of it as like some kind of magnum opus type piece, man, I don't buy into that. And I don't know, Christopher Nolan, I'm a little bit critical of. I think his sound design's a bit wonky. There are times where they're trying to have a serious conversation and the background noise is definitely flooding it out. But I don't know, man, maybe I'm being a little bit hipster on this, but I just didn't find it as good as I expected. I think what it came down to, Anthony, and spoiler alert to a degree, the entire time you're sitting there, and Nolan does a fantastic job of building tension. We've known that through Tenet. We know that through everything he's done. But he builds so much tension to a main event, and that main event being the bomb explosion, the test. It felt like a wrestling main event that just fell short, because when it finally got to it, I was expecting a giant explosion, and it was indeed a fascinating explosion using practical effects. But when you watch the old videos of atomic explosions and you see the houses just being torn to shreds and all that. I expect a little bit more than just the actors in silence looking at a bright light, you know?
Well, and I understand why people don't like it, but I think that's to me, I love that about it because I wasn't going into this thinking this is the new Transformers. This isn't a Michael Bay film. And I know people kind of expected that, especially when it's a movie about a nuclear explosion, the guy who invented the bomb and the atomic bomb, everything. It's the most notorious event that maybe has happened in the history of the world. So obviously, I think the hype of, oh, we have to see the bomb and he did it himself, like there was no CGI. And I think to that extent, obviously, if you're looking at it like that, then maybe it didn't live up to the hype. But I love that introspective kind of reality that it showed you. It shows you the struggles that these scientists go through and kind of the power grabs that very similar to politics. And then, I mean, really, you see more toward the end, kind of how intertwined that all is, but that power struggle and that need to figure these things out, and theory will only take you this far, and you have to try it out. And even someone who was, I guess left leaning, we saw him tied to the Communist Party in that movie, and obviously that was a time where that was more of a controversial thing. And I think all of those little things, and I know people were complaining about Barbie being political, but this movie, I mean, this was geopolitical. This is about power. This is about how the world really became what it is today. So I think in that sense, and from an acting standpoint and all of the cinematography, then like when he's giving the victory speech and you see the light and the skin and kind of like more effects to what the bombs would do to people. And I just think all of that is so deep and telling. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, the biggest message I took from the film was it really shows you good, bad, or indifferent, left, right, or center. All of these people are after power. And even if they claim to you that they don't want to do this kind of thing, they're going to do it. And that need for and want for advancing in your career and advancing and being that guy, especially in a field like science, when you're friends with someone like Einstein and that iconic in your field. I think it's almost like LeBron versus Jordan. It's that kind of, it's inside of you. You need to get to that next point. And if you don't, it's like it will eat at you for the rest of time. So I think the messaging is just beautiful in that sense.
And I agree with you. The messaging, like it had a really good underlying meaning to it. They really delve into the whole communist aspect of Oppenheimer's life too, which I thought was fascinating. The decision, final thing on Oppenheimer, spoiler alert, I was sitting there waiting for them to, it happened out of nowhere, and it was a decision by Nolan. Hiroshima's announced on a radio, held up to, the loudspeakers so everyone can hear what's happening. They don't show Hiroshima. I thought that was a missed opportunity. I got to be honest with you.
I mean, again, I kind of like how it really makes you think about what they were going through and not really think about the event itself. And I think that's something Nolan is really good at doing. And he's done that in other movies. Like I believe he did that a good amount in Dunkirk as well when that came out. But to your point about being critical of him, I think of late I've been more critical of him. Tenet, not that I hated it. I was excited to see that because that was actually the first movie back in theaters after COVID. So I was very excited to see that. And I'm a huge Pattinson fan. And even though that movie was good, I thought it was a little too... And I like Inception. I think that's a little confusing, but I like that introspective think that it offers. But I thought Tenet kind of took that to the next degree, and it was almost too much for people to deal with. So I think if anything, something like this kind of really makes me appreciative of where he's at now and kind of the storytelling aspects he focused on. And I hope, moving forward.
Like one thing I want to see from him is there's talks that he'd be interested in directing a James Bond.
Yeah.
I think that would be freaking awesome from James Bond.
He's been rumored with James Bond, and also that he was asked about Star Wars recently, and he seems very open to that idea, which I think that would benefit both sides very much.
But when like the final scene in Inception with the coming down the mountain, the snowy mountain, that's like a straight ripped out of James Bond type scene, and it's shot so well that I think he'd just be excellent.
That's a really good point. The
And
whole theme of that movie kind of is a little bit in a way.
they need it too, man. I mean, look at Mission Impossible. They are just blowing James Bond franchise out of the water right now. I mean, Mission Impossible not performing well at the box office. When was the last time a James Bond movie performed decently? I mean, Mission
Doing
Impossible
better
year after
than
year.
I think it's doing better than people expected. Which I at one point I want to see that. Just I'm not the biggest Tom Cruise guy, but I appreciate how passionate he is. So I would like to see it.
The movie killing the box office is right now. Though yesterday we went to that Cinemark, and I was with Dave, Ray, Mark, and then Valaire. And it was us 5 guys, and there was a group of like 14, 15-year-old girls,
Yeah.
all dressed in pink. And they go, "Are you coming here to see Barbie?" And I just had to look at them like, yeah, us group of 5 guys, big burly guys. We're here together to see Barbie. But Barbie killing it at the box office, man. 8% of Oppenheimer ticket buyers were actually, because they had Barbie sold out, they wanted to see a film and they decided Oppenheimer. So, like, just even blowing Oppenheimer out at the box office is we talked about it last week, the political implications of Barbie. You have any plans to go see that?
I'm going to go see it with my girlfriend. And to your point, when I saw Oppenheimer, I saw a group of like 70-year-old women all dressed up in like pink and glitter. And
so weird,
I mean, it's transcending. I mean, if you really think about it, and I understand, people are going all different ways with this politically, but when you really think about it, Barbie was the first like empowering image of a woman in a sense, and kind of showing as Ken is not needed, as like in and out of life, and how it's about Barbie and what is Barbie doing, and how can Barbie continue to move up the ranks. And I really feel like, especially, I don't know, seeing those 70-year-old women, I think Barbie now obviously is a lot different than Barbie 50, 60, 70 years ago, when it really made an impact. And like, we talk about representation, that really the only representation in toys then was probably the GI Joe. So I think it really transcends, just even if, say, it goes left, right, middle. I think a lot of those messages and like the songs making fun of men, I think that and I'm able to take a joke. So I think a lot of these things, even if doesn't necessarily matter the content of the movie, it's that nostalgia. And I think that's a group of people who haven't really necessarily even had that nostalgia. And I think a lot of those movies and video games and all that kind of stuff hits more 80s to 90s kids. And now they're kind of reaching out and going even further. So it is really interesting, and it's awesome either way to see people back at the movies, and theaters sold out. And like, I haven't seen that years. It's been years.
So I'm going to stop you because I want to see a movie because I want to, see if it affirms my beliefs about it being about the patriarchy and flipping on its head. Like what I've heard is at the end of the film, rather than teaching the message of, equality, they essentially affirm the message that, Ken's being lower on the social scale is indeed a correct thing, and Barbie goes off on her merry way with the patriarch. Like, I just feel like it teaches the wrong lesson at the end of it. And my opinion really falls in line with Tom McDonald, a right-wing rapper. You've heard of Tom McDonald before. It's a 1-minute clip, Anthony. I just want you to respond directly to it, see what you have to say.
So the Barbie movie dropped and everybody's talking about it. AOC tweeted that she loves how upset Republicans are now that Barbie is too woke, and claims that conservatives essentially want Barbie to go back to being some sort of oppressed housewife. I don't mean to take sides here, but I'll go with the Republicans who want to take away Barbie's fictional right to vote over the Democrats who want to give Barbie a wiener. I've been seeing this a lot lately. People on the right that get upset when cartoons and movies go woke, and the left will be like, it's a fictional character. Everybody knows it's a fictional character. The problem is that these fictional characters are being consumed by real children. This wokeism that's plaguing America, that you're putting in content geared towards children, these are ideas and concepts that are difficult for an adult to keep up with and understand. Why are you presenting them to children who are struggling to learn the months of the year? This is the bottom line. Folks with children are concerned that you're going to turn Barbie into Bobby and confuse the out of their kids just to prove how woke you are. Barbie is for little girls. They have a tough enough road ahead of them now that men can compete in women's sports and be woman of the year. So no, AOC, conservatives are not mad at Barbie. They're annoyed that you've wokeified another historic piece of American pop culture in an attempt to woke wash children. And that's bullshit.
Thoughts?
I will say, I think I look at this similar to, so A24 is also using a Mattel product and Barney to make a movie geared more towards kids our age, because we were the demographic for Barney. So too many B's. Either way, as much as I agree there, is Barbie the toy still made for little girls? Yes. But with the amount of things there are now, I don't really think this movie was made for little girls. This movie was kind of made for middle age to older age America, and to kind of get those people in. I mean, really, the director, and I understand, again, there's a lot of messaging and quotes that she's had that are tied to left wing thinking, but they say the movie's for everyone. I did not see it yet, but I really want to be able to watch it and analyze it in, because I even saw Rich Zioli saying he thinks it's right wing and it's empowering to women. So it's like people are all over the place with this. So
Yeah.
I would love to. I really do need to go see it and kind of make up my mind for myself, because it seems like whether it's that rapper, any of our hosts, someone on Fox, all of them they're not all aligned, which is weird for the first time. It really seems like.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like I got to see it to completely get my idea, straight. One of those things I don't know where I fall on this one. Moving on topics is the Bronny James situation. And LeBron James has a son, NBA prospect son, who's supposed to go pretty high in the draft. He's vaccinated. I want to put that out there. And if you haven't heard yet, I don't know where the hell you've been, but here's a quick report from KTLA. Tell them what's going on.
We begin our 8 o'clock hour with this breaking news. LeBron James' son, Bronny, is recovering this morning after suffering cardiac arrest at USC yesterday. TMZ reports it happened just before 9:30 in the morning during workouts at the Galen Center. The James family released a statement this morning saying Bronny is now out of the ICU. He's in stable condition. In the statement, the James family thanked USC's medical and athletic staff for their work. They've asked for respect and privacy. The 18-year-old has committed to play for the Trojans in the fall with plans of entering the NBA draft when he becomes eligible in 2024.
Yeah, so Bronny James, there you hear. Cardiac arrest. And this is DeMar Hamlin, Buffalo Bills player. We all know what happened there. Collapsed on field. And I'm one of those guys. I mean, early on in it, I was skeptical that they rushed this coronavirus vaccine to the market. We don't have a long-term tests here. I was somewhat wary. I did end up getting vaccinated, but I was wary about it. And I got to say, man, this keeps happening. Tori Kelly, blood clots, hospitalized for blood clots. It just seems there's so much in the vascular system going wrong, and it just seems way too perfect to happen after everyone sticks themselves with a vaccine that not many people knew about. What are your thoughts on this situation?
We've been talking about this obviously on the air a lot, and something that's continued to kind of make me wonder is, are we paying more attention to this, or is this happening more often? And even myself, like I passed out. I had an experience where I passed out with COVID, and it was definitely not fun, obviously scary. And I mean, I believe I have passed out before, though. It was a while ago when I was younger, because I've always been petrified of needles. So that's, a whole nother story. But to me, I think either way, it's good that we're paying more attention to it. Should we be questioning the COVID vaccine because of this? Yes. Should we blame all of this on the COVID vaccine? No. I think we need the COVID thing, whether it's big government or things we ingest into our body or just eat or drink daily. I think we need to be very, very careful in all of those categories to an extent that we didn't even think about before. And now I think there's a lot of factors that go into all of this, and we really need to pay attention to whether it's medicine, food, drinks, everything we ingest each and every day. We really need to be more careful about. And I think if we could bring anything good after COVID, it's that. And I do think COVID is impacting people with this to an extent, and they don't want to admit that. But at the same time, I'm not going to jump to the conclusion and say this is all because of COVID and because of the vaccine.
Do you have any friends in your life who are very pro-vaccine, and have you had conversations with them since this stuff kind of rolls out, and have they subsided their ideology a little bit? Or are they still headstrong, pro-vaccine, this is all a conspiracy theory?
People have, I think, moved a little bit. If they were really diehard, they moved a little bit and say, oh, we never meant that, or we never. But a lot of the time still, if I'm going to call one of my left-wing friends and talk to them about the vaccine and just say I'm right, a lot of them are hesitant to still be like, yeah, you guys were right. Well, we had people essentially saying that those that don't get vaccinated should be treated like second-class citizens. Like,
I feel we need to have a little, look inside of our society and reflect a little bit and think maybe people were wrong. And I just wish people were willing to admit it, because in my personal life, those that were headstrong try to, put on the blinders, turn any kind of eye they can to see all these, medical issues popping up and justify it some other way and away from the vaccine. It's like they're an army, covering up for Johnson and Johnson and Pfizer and all this crap.
Well, that's why we need to take away the team nature of politics. When I used to work with Todd in Hartford, he used to always call it the Yankees suck syndrome. As soon as you get people rooting for one side and dug into these people that don't care about them, and once you make people realize that all of this is a facade for them to make money off of us, all of them, both sides, all this is they do is that's all they do. Every single issue is fundraise. They're not trying to change any issue. They'd rather fundraise over it and continue to be in politics till the end of time and raise that money on it. I mean, and that's until people start to realize that. And I think people more and more are realizing that. I think that's why Trump was successful. I think that's why people even considered Bernie, even though he's a little bit of an oxymoron because he's part of the structure. I think that's why RFK is gaining traction. But once people stop getting into this, dig their feet in, rooting for a team mentality, and realize they work for us, we don't work for them on both sides, which to Republicans' credit, I would say, I think they're being much more critical of their leaders since COVID. And I think Democrats, they need to do the same thing. Stop defending Biden. You guys talked down on all of the leadership during Trump's administration, so you should be critical of your own guy at the same time. So it's, once people start realizing all of that, we need more people to realize that. But I think also on another note, COVID also put those people that were on the extremes and dug in. It made them even more dug in. And now, there are even things like Truth Social, or I don't know, it's chat groups where people are so left wing or so right wing that all they hear is what they want to hear. And they never get this nuanced conversation like you get on the other side. So
the echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
The echo chamber. And I want to agree with you the team thing, but I got to say I'm guilty myself at team politics to a degree. Well, maybe not, because the guy is truly that big of an asshole, and that being Larry Krasner, who we so you're talking about this, and I want to nod, but like when it comes to these local politics, Larry Krasner, I got to say, man, I do headstrong. Anything the guy does, I have to shrug and say it's a bad idea. If it might be something good that he's done. I can't think of one thing though, so I don't know. But on that note, Larry Krasner, man, last week Dom and I got a rumor that on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, he'd be having a meeting with people and announcing that he'd be leaving for the National Lawyers Guild. It's weird, man. We got like really official looking press releases announcing that he'd be beginning August 1st with the Lawyers Guild. And then Wednesday rolled around and nothing. We heard that he called a meeting of all his assistant DA and nothing. That same day, Craig Williams over in the State House announced a 100-page thing back to the Common Court, so a Common Court judge on the impeachment of Larry Krasner, struck down their bill calling for the impeachment. So now Craig Williams filed back a 100-page report essentially looking at all the misdeeds of Larry Krasner that's going to now be filed to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. So Krasner himself will have a chance to appeal, and that process is still going on, but nothing about Larry leaving for somewhere else. That rumor has not come to fruition. We're still hoping that by August 1st, we might have something else there. But something's got to change here. I'm going to completely switch topics from coronavirus over to Philadelphia crime because shit, man, excuse my language. YMCA, there was just an incident outside of, and then you just sent me something from Philly Crime Update. What just happened here in Philadelphia?
Yeah, so a 1-year-old infant was shot and is in critical condition, shot by a 14-year-old. And it seems like never ending, whether you're on the Citizen app or on Philly Crime Update, there's always something. And it's absolutely insane. This needs to change as soon as possible. The fact it doesn't matter if you're left, right, or in the middle, something needs to change. And actually, you know what? People that probably voted for Krasner and got manipulated by all of his messaging, those are the people suffering the most, especially in a city like ours. So it's unfortunate that we're here, but that's the reality of it. You have to hope somehow he will be moving on. If we could have a fresh slate in November with a new mayor and a new DA, I think that could change a lot for the hope of the police
much.
officers at the very least, and the citizens then following there. So I don't know. It's hard to say whether, who knows what's going on there, because like you said, conflicting reports and not much coverage yet. But we'll see how that moves forward. I know a lot of even reporters online were saying how, oh, Larry Krasner is supposedly stepping down tomorrow, yada, yada, yada. But they're all kind of poking fun at it, saying that it's untrue.
Yeah. Here from Philly Crime Update. I don't know how the heck these guys get like such great content. But here's that call. I'm doing a little crossover here with Krasner Land, because today it's Thursday. Right now, exactly 4 o'clock is when we usually have Krasner Land, but Don down the shore. So let's transition just a sec here to hear this police call for when that infant was just this horrific incident. Take a listen.
The 22nd District, person with a gun, 1626 North 29th Street. We have a report of a female shot by a 14-year-old male. Repeating, the 22nd District, person with a gun, 1626 North 29th Street. Report of a female shot by a 14-year-old male. No further information.
These two don't know where they went. They're gonna wait for this.
You said that was a 1-year-old baby shot. Occupants in a white car.
We also notify simple, privacy, anything, but I'm like, all of them know we don't know where this gunshot is somewhere.
And yeah, he's reporting that it was in the back of the head too. It's absolutely horrific. And just, I mean, last night, this happened too. And this is outside, this is in Graduate Hospital, which is, it's decent. I mean, I don't think they've had many murders there recently. And this is outside of Y, which is, you hear the left solution a lot for a lot of this is more recreational centers. But if you can't get the crime in control, the people are going to be deterred away from the recreational centers. Anthony, take a listen to this, just the gunshots from this surveillance video that NBC 10 obtained.
People in this Graduate Hospital neighborhood in Philadelphia seen running after shots were fired just after 7 p.m. Wednesday at 17th and Christian Streets. Police say an 18-year-old man was shot and killed.
We do have some footage of a good portion of this incident. And what we see in the footage is a gray Dodge Durango stop in front of a young man, the decedent, who was walking on the sidewalk, and jump out of the car and essentially ambush him.
Police.
So since then, officials have spoken out, and city officials essentially saying this is a targeted attack, no one be afraid. But we're talking about outside of a Y. It didn't happen right in front of the Y. It was down, on the corner, but I guess the kid was leaving the Y. It's step the hell up. Elected officials, you have the power to do so. Prosecute these individuals, hold them in jail, don't let them out on low cash bail, and maybe we'd see stuff. It just seems so damn simple to me, Anthony. And why won't they just, why in your eyes are they not fixing the city? They have the power to.
District Attorney Larry Krasner thinks he's some sort of a legislature or a higher position because he doesn't do his job. Your job is to enforce the justice when crime is committed. That is your job, and he does not seem committed to that job whatsoever at all. So at the end of the day, he should walk out of there no matter what he's doing. Right now, he isn't doing his job. Instead, I mean, we saw it, this video. We both played it on air. Krasner promoting SEPTA and saying, oh, we need to take SEPTA. And how much money do you want to bet that Larry Krasner either pulled up in his bulletproof Suburban and his security detail? And that's if he didn't take SEPTA. If he took SEPTA, I guess what they did is probably walk down there with his entire security detail, block off one whole train for him with security at all doors. And I'm sure that's the only way he would have done it. So, it's so funny whether all this stuff, it's all about PR. It's all about how and I'm not coming at the cops because they're the ones who are, really the victims here because they're able to do nothing now. They can't really do much. These people get out on low bail and multiple offenders, gun charges, drug charges. There's no enforcement. And once we stop treating these criminals like victims, then we can move forward. And that's why people are frustrated.
Here we are at the stadium. We took the best way around in Philly, which is SEPTA. Nothing but happy people wearing team colors behind us, getting ready for a beautiful game on a beautiful night after a beautiful ride. Ride SEPTA.
I wish I saw that. I was at the game the other night. I don't know. Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, is that a Reading Phil's hat he's wearing? That's not a Phillies hat.
It might be like a throwback.
Is that what it is?
That almost looks like when they were the Fightins, kind of that era. It almost looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that the first couple times I watched it.
Can't wear the regular one. He's too rich for that. Had to get the throwback.
Throwback, and look at him in the SEPTA platform. They cleared out any vagrant that was sitting behind him, because there was someone shooting up right behind him before they decided to take this video.
Half the time you get on a SEPTA train, it's someone's smoking on it. There's trash. There's like to act like this. And don't get me wrong, I want more people to take public transit, and we really do need to commit to it because you're just inefficient as a city if we're going to rely on cars as much as we do now.
I agree. Yep.
So.
Yeah. And then, I see on Reddit a bunch of liberals, progressives saying, let's close off every other road during the summer and have outdoor cafes like Montreal. If we were to fix public transit, I feel like we could do so much to beautify the city. And that's one thing I kind of agree with liberals on is let's get this public transit. But this whole pushing it down our throats, let's ride it. It's perfectly safe. Why do we keep turning a blind eye, Larry?
Yep.
It is not safe, and people will not ride it because they know the truth. We're not freaking idiots like you want to believe we are.
Do you want your single, women alone taking SEPTA at this point? Nobody wants that.
No,
Kids, it's hard. And, it's just like you said, we can't ignore all of these issues with it. I agree with you. We should have great public transit. Everyone should want that. Everyone should want walkable cities, great public transit, easy in and out. People who are just trying to go about their days, but we're not going to have that if we don't enforce what's currently going on at these places.
And so I don't understand I don't know if people understand what's going on here. If you can get away with the crap that you can get away with here in Philadelphia, it spreads like wildfire. And every time I've ridden SEPTA, since coronavirus, I've ridden the train, I've ridden buses, and every single time, there is not one time that I go on there and there's not an illegal activity going on, or there's not a crack pipe sitting in someone's hand, maybe not being used at that time. It's SEPTA's absolutely freaking disgusting, and until we're honest with ourselves, it's not going to change. Being honest with ourselves, Eagles training camp launches this week. Where do you think we stand? You Super Bowl?
Super Bowl.
Let's do it. I want to take a chance to plug Mr. Ray Didinger's book. He just got this out in paperback, Anthony. I suggest you read it. One last read. It's all his compilations of his sports writing throughout his career. Tommy and me going strong. And it's one thing I look back with Ray, what he had with Hershey, where he was essentially, as a kid, able to go up to a fence and meet Tommy McDonald, hold his helmet, and become good friends with the guy. But that's not the case anymore. But Eagles open practice coming up August 8th. I think that's the Sunday that's coming up on. Is that the day? No, August 6th. Whatever it is. August 6th, yeah. So, Anthony, I want Super Bowl too, but there's a hangover. Super Bowl losers got that hangover to deal with. You don't think we're gonna have that? Our roster is built better than last year. I'm not too concerned.
That's where I'm at. Obviously, safety, you could bring that up after the entire fiasco there. But I think pretty much every single position other than that, the Eagles have improved. And Howie has done just legitimately everything and more that he can. I don't know. I can't even say anything else about them. It's hard. We've been talking about the Sixers half the time in times like this, where there's some dead time because of baseball. And people aren't even talking about the Eagles because we're all like, yeah, they got it. They know what they're doing. They have a great quarterback. They have a good coach. The GM's killing it. When was the last time we didn't complain about the Eagles? It's absolutely insane.
I can't think of a time in my life where I've trusted a franchise as much as I trust the Eagles right now.
Exactly. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's a testament to how they've been running the organization. To your point, is it difficult to get back there? Obviously, it's very difficult. Injuries are going to, again, be a factor, but I think the thing that gives me the most confidence is the energy in that locker room from Jason Kelce and from Jalen Hurts. I think it is almost unmatched in the NFL. They bring a unity and that I don't know if any other, and I'm not trying to say there aren't other close locker rooms in the league. I know there are, but what Hurts and Kelce have achieved to really lead them and kind of make them a cohesive unit, not just a bunch of guys in a room. I just think that is the most pivotal thing to have, and it really, I think it will take them far. And Jalen losing last year, I know it keeps me up at night sometimes knowing that he didn't get the ball one more time. So how do you think he feels? And that guy is the hardest working Philadelphia athlete I think.
Dude,
I've ever
so
seen.
there was reports that came out this week that Jalen Hurts denied an opportunity to appear on the first season of Netflix's quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and who was it? Marcus Mariota were the ones that turned out. I would have loved to follow Jalen Hurts last season. That would have been so fascinating to watch. So let's hope. All right, let's move over to streaming. All right, you know what? Give me some Phillies talk real quick because I want to know where you stand on Trey Turner. I mean, he's getting booed now. Rob sat him until the next series. I'm really disappointed. We got to deal with this guy for 11 years. But I'm not the kind of guy that's like fully out on it. Like I know that this is, Castellanos had the same struggles his first season, so I expect him to iron out. But we need the wins, man. It's not good what we're seeing out of Trey Turner. Are you concerned?
It's definitely concerning. Yes. I also booed him when I was at the stadium this week because he did deserve it. I guess I look at it this way. A lot of the times we didn't even know if Nick Castellanos was going to be back on this team. And now, if anything, especially when Harper was hurt, he really has stepped up and he's looked great. And even Schwarber of late he's figuring out how to hit it. He's made a couple good defensive plays finally. So there are rumors that we're trading for another fielder, and they would take over most of the time in left field, and then Harper at first and Schwarber at DH. So we'll see how that goes. But when it comes to Trey, I feel like we just have to play the waiting game. You can't. I mean, right now his trade value is at a record low. You're going to get nothing for him. You got to just kind of ride it out. Baseball is such a game of ebbs and flows and ups and downs as well. So I think if you give the guy some time, let him settle in. I mean, we do have a great locker room, and I think Harper, especially when guys are struggling like that, is really good at helping them and getting them through tough times like that. So, I'm not losing all hope, but at the same time, I'm happy they're not just ignoring it and keeping them in the lineup. Because like you said, this is it. I mean, it's after the break. They need to get rolling. And even though it looks like they look great against Baltimore, which is a top tier team there. So I'm very excited to see what happens here. Again, I always look at Twitter, and I believe it's the 2008 Phillies page. They always post the records, and they're right there, sitting at what they were sitting at last year and also in 2008. So they're right there with, they're always teasing us. But I think
WIP Midday Show asked a poll today. I should pull up the results here of whether or not we're better off without Trey Turner.
Yeah, are we? I guess, but at the same time,
whoa, you're on that.
But what are we gonna get for him right now? I mean, right now in the lineup, I'll agree with that. But what, we're gonna trade him or drop him? Like, no. Yeah. So I don't know.
What are you watching, man? Any good things you recommend people stream?
I am really kind of behind on streaming just because I went to see Oppenheimer. But I actually finished Jury Duty finally over the weekend. The streaming service on Amazon and Freevee, talking about actors and producers from The Office all kind of putting up a fake court, and one normal guy didn't fall for it, or at least realize he was falling for it until the last episode, which it's a fun and really, really fun watch. And I think I've been someone who's critical of The Office, but I think the way that they used humor in this real life situation, I think almost worked better than in The Office. And I know people love The Office. I'm not trying to say I hate The Office, but some of that awkward humor is just a little too much for me. And I think I appreciated it more when it was a real world situation where I knew like this guy was on it. So
yeah, that makes sense. Up for an Emmy for Best Comedy Series, which is rare for this kind of like crossover reality kind of thing. So something that's been on my list to check out ever since you first mentioned it, and it remains good throughout the entire season, huh?
Yeah, I think it lived up, and it's the kind of show I stayed up a little too late a few nights because I wanted to see what happened next because it was getting so crazy. It kind of just snowballs, early there's a couple things that are weird, and then it continues to get crazier and crazier. So
I'm going to suggest, I suggested on today's show, Resident Alien. Did I mention that on here before?
Isn't that on Peacock, right?
It's on Peacock. It's initially a sci-fi series, and it's definitely like B-movie corny, but it's a story of a alien that crash lands in a Colorado, very remote town, and takes the identity of a medical expert. It's a comedy. He takes the identity of a medical expert, and the town doctor dies, so he's called upon to be the town doctor. And it's kind of a learning an alien learning human life as it goes, becoming human. It's really like heartwarming a lot of times. The show, Resident Alien, and what I love about it, man, is I'm a big sci-fi nerd, and there are so many cameos. I don't know if you've ever watched Firefly, but Alan Tudyk, Wash from Firefly, he's also in Dodgeball, a couple other things. You'd recognize Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball. He's the lead as the alien, and man, he is fantastic. And because people in Hollywood, I guess, love Alan Tudyk, he has so many of his friends come on. I mean, George Takei has a cameo as an alien at one point. Sarah Connor essentially plays, I don't know the actress's name, but the person who plays Sarah Connor essentially plays the Sarah Connor character in this, trying to, work with the aliens to save humanity. It's a lot of fun. It's very corny at times, but it's one of those shows that embraces the corniness rather than tries to pass it off as, something valid. So again, Resident Alien, sci-fi, available on Peacock. I do highly suggest. It's worth sitting through those damn commercials on Peacock that they now charge for. Dude, how pissed are you? Pissed off? Do you have Peacock and Comcast?
I do have Peacock, yeah.
Like, just in June, they decided out of nowhere we were getting Peacock for free, and it's like, oh yeah, you now got to pay for Peacock. I already pay you Comcast like $100-something for this damn internet service. I don't know why I gotta pay you $4 extra to now watch commercials on my Peacock. Sorry, I don't mean to rant as hard as I do. But while we're on the aliens, final thing I want to talk about before we head out of here. Yeah, we got a little bit of time. The situation, the hearings on UFOs, man. We found out this week that allegedly, according to this person with the Air Force, sworn in, says we have extraterrestrial life in possession, biological beings not from this Earth, and we also have reversed engineered technology, propulsion technologies, and supposedly have some vehicles in our possession. A lot learned from this, but man, I got to tell you, I don't know what it is. Dom, Mike, they are skeptics beyond belief, and just refuse to give it any credence whatsoever that this could turn into a real story. But man, we're about to find out that freaking aliens are here on Earth, and it seems nobody freaking cares. What the hell's going on?
This is why this stuff's been coming out since COVID happened, and just because COVID was happening, you're right. Nobody, it's like, man, whatever. Yeah, we knew about it. We knew about aliens. Like there's been movies about it. But to your point, this is crazy. And I know even today I was on with Dawn, and she's like, oh, conspiracy. I'm like, conspiracy? Like, what do you mean? This is a hearing. They are testifying, and they're telling you things that he swore in to say. And this is after years and years of weird things going on. And also, I don't care what your religious view is or your worldview is, but if you really think that we are the most intelligent life and the only intelligent life that exists in all of the galaxies and all of the vast universe systems that exist out there in the unknown, we don't even know it's in the ocean, let alone space. So again, and there's zero. Look at me and you. I don't think, I know we're not the smartest species that has ever existed. So
they present a theory in Resident Alien that octopuses are descendants of aliens, and they're actually smarter and more advanced than us, but choose not to communicate with us.
Maybe that's the truth. Maybe one of the whistleblowers helped write the show. But I wonder, to that point, I wonder if all this hearing stuff will help the public, the popularity and the publicity for stuff like that.
Do you think there's any chance? Okay, so let's delve into some QAnon type conspiracies, the real crazy stuff here. As we know, there are notions out there that this was a shady cabal that organized coronavirus to descend upon the world to get ultimate control in effort to achieve a one world government. And I say that because I'm just contextualizing, because these same people, they say the next step in this whole, government control to get everybody on the same page of one world government is by false flagging an alien invasion. So I tell you all this to ask you, Anthony, do you think this is all part of a false flag of an alien invasion for a one world government of control?
I do not. I cannot be more. I am the furthest away of Mike and Dom and Dawn saying that, like, oh, is this conspiracy? Is this, we have to be skeptical? If anything, this is just solidifying what I've always felt is true, is that I didn't always think we knew, but I knew there's something going on out there. We don't
But
know.
what's it mean? Like, what? So Mike said he made a point. He goes, "What the hell does it matter if we find out we have, alien life?"
What does it matter? What do you mean?
That's exactly what I said on it.
What do you mean? It could be an impact. It could be impacting literally everything, and we don't know it. And who knows? They could be threatening us with things, and I don't know how we'd even be able to communicate with them.
Well, I told Mike, what if we already have shapeshifters in power in government? Like you never know with these aliens.
McConnell was showing his true colors yesterday when he froze. He's just his batteries died.
You know what? It wasn't a medical episode. That was just the alien leaving the body temporarily.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, man, I'm watching way too much Resident Alien here. On that note, Ancient Aliens, is that ever your thing? You ever get into that?
I used to like it, yeah. So everyone's gonna be like, "Of course you think it's real, of course." But then, come on, man, they're definitely real.
I say that just to tie everything together. That George Cascalidis, what the hell is the guy's name that does the it was aliens meme? He also the guy with the hair. He's known as the big hair alien guy in Resident Alien. He makes a couple cameos as well. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I do suggest. All right, man. Let's get out of here. It's been a lot of fun. This was The Other Side with Dan and DiRenzo, a show that we bring you, Pirate Radio taking over. But if you're not aware, tune into 1210 right now. Rich is down there in Cape May at the Grand in Cape May. He's live with an audience. It's freaking awesome. 1210wpht.com or the Odyssey app. But Anthony, take it away. Get us out of here, man.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't have time to always watch, you can subscribe on Odyssey, Apple, or Spotify. We're live on all three. Check us out at Producer Big Dan on Twitter and at ADiRenzo6 or X. I don't know. We didn't even get into that. I don't know if that's what it is now, but whatever. Regardless, we'll see you guys next week. We really appreciate you watching, and tune in to 1210 until the end of the week to hear from Dan and myself. Have a good one.
See you.